3,600 Percocets and was doing rounds in this hospital. So there's more going on. We know a lot more than when I started in the field about addiction as a brain disease, but it's more complex than that. And because it's more complex than that, and because it affects behavior and judgment and volition, it's easier for people to characterize it as something other than a disease, right? And we run into it all the time. And boy, I would love to. Prejudice is better than when I got in the field more than 40 years ago, but it's not a lot better. And there continues to be tremendous prejudice toward people with addictions. And partly because of that, managed care pretty much obliterated the treatment industry that used to exist back in the late 70s into the 80s. There used to be able to flip open a Yellow Pages. How many of you remember what a Yellow Pages was? You could flip open a Yellow Pages and leaf through page after page after page of treatment centers. You could literally pick one and they'd admit you. And now they're all gone. So, all right, questions so far? This make sense? All right. All right. So the causal model works for simple diagnosis, and what ends up happening with addiction is people drop back into these other models. The moral model, right? Addiction is a result of sin or wrongdoing. Personality. How do we know that it's not a personality disorder? Well, for one thing, we can give it to mice, right? And mice don't, at least they don't have much of a personality. Environmental. A lot of people say if you grow up in an alcoholic home, you have a higher likelihood of developing alcoholism. And the Scandinavians have a long history of doing genetic testing of twins and disproved that 50 years ago. It appears, now just to give you an idea of the landscape, in the United States, about a third of the population doesn't drink beverage. I'm going to use alcohol as the primary example. About 30% of the population doesn't drink at all. Did you know that? When I tell people at the farm that, they're astonished. Because, of course, they wouldn't hang out with the people who come to the farm. But the fact is, about a third of the population, it's just a non-issue. There are some people who are teetotalers, but there are a lot of people for whom alcohol is just not an issue. Of the remaining population, about 1 out of every 8 to 10 people who drink beverage alcohol will convert to a dependency, will develop what we call alcoholism, right? And that happens whether or not you are physically in the presence of your parents or not. If you have an alcoholic parent, that number drops down to about 1 in 4. If you have 2 alcoholic parents, it drops down